Good morning. It is the vlog ride, and we are driving into work. Traffic is annoying. The weather is beautiful. It is sunny, as you can tell. And we are probably due for a very hot day because, yay, North Carolina summers. No, we had the temperature was like in the high 90s yesterday with a heat index of something like 104 or something like that. It was hot, and it's just gonna get worse because we're into the heat of summer, man. Anyway, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. So I started the vlog ride after Endgame because there were a lot of things that I wanted to talk about and could not wait to discuss them, so I started doing this. And but this movie is one I actually saw back around Valentine's Day, and it is one of my favorite movies that I've seen this year. It's one that I waited a long time to be able to see, because there'd be talks about it's coming and then it wouldn't come, it's coming and then it wouldn't come. So I was like really excited. I don't know if I've talked about this on here before, but it was when we went and saw Infinity War. It's the first time I had seen the trailer for it. And I think I had heard something about maybe it was coming, and I didn't pay it any mind because of how many times I've heard that a live action movie's coming. So the trailer hits and I see those big eyes and I start screaming in the middle of the theater. So yeah, I was really excited when I saw that, yes, there was actually a trailer. This was actually happening. I could gush all day. So anyway, I won't keep doing that though, because I actually do want to have a discussion. I love Battle Angel. I'm not going to talk about adaptation stuff with it, mostly because I read the manga back in like the mid to late 90s. This is something I have loved for a long time. And it's been so many years since I've read the manga. I know, like, some of the things that were definitely changed, and a few of the things I think that were kind of changed, and a few things that I'm pretty sure were, even though certain things leading up to it were, obviously adapted, other things with it were, like, spot on. So, but like remembering all the fine details for actually discussing adaptation, yeah. If you have seen, we're talking about Alita Battle Angel. If you have seen it, awesome. If you have not, I am going to be spoiling some stuff, so just be warned. Spoilers ahead. If you've not seen it, why not? It is such a great movie. It is a very dense movie. I want to say that the plot of the movie ends up covering like 2 or 3 graphic novels. And I think they did a very good job of interweaving all of the stories together. But yeah, it is very dense, but it also moves very, very quickly. I don't remember there being a spot in the movie where I'm just kind of sitting there waiting for the next thing to happen. It just happens. And that's good. I like well-paced movies. Especially in something like this where you're doing so much and you're having to adapt. Being able to get information across, to world build without having to overly info dump or slow the pacing down in order to let your viewer catch up is actually a really good thing. So, but James Cameron is a really good director. And you can tell watching the movie that he really, really loved Battle Angel. I do want to laser focus in on one thing. I did write about this on my blog, and I will link to that. That way, if there are points that I have that I end up skipping over in talking about it, since I can't script and sit and read a script while I'm driving. If there's something that I forget to talk about, it probably is in the blog post. And the blog post actually covers a little bit more than what we're going to talk about here. It's just here we're limited to a car ride. There's a trope that the movie plays with very heavily, and that comes from the manga. It's a thing. It's a thing. And not everybody in feminist circles agrees with my hot take on this. But here is my hot take on how they play with the trope. The trope being well, there are a few, but the main one we're going to focus on is what I'm going to call the father knows best. And you see this a lot in especially teen movies where you've got a teenage female protagonist and either a father or a male father figure. And basically it will boil down to daddy/father figure has a rule, daughter breaks the rule, daughter gets in trouble, daddy comes to the rescue, and it is reinforced for daughter why daughter needs to obey these rules, and maybe daddy learns how to ease up a little bit, the rule is still in place. It's a thing. There's a lot to unpack with tropes like this. I won't get into unpacking the trope and just why the trope can be problematic, but I'll save that for a theory video, and we'll talk about feminist theory. Something we've not really, I've used feminism a few times, but we've not really talked about feminist theory. So I'll prepare up and actually sit down and discuss feminist theory. But understand that, we are examining this from the point of view of this is a problematic trope. I think it is actually important to look at this from the point of view of this is a problematic trope. I think that the way this trope is used in the movie acknowledges that it is a problematic trope. So Alita is a cyborg. This doctor, Ito, finds her in a junk pile under the giant floating city, and he puts her back together. We come to find out over the course of the movie that the body he uses to put her together is a cyborg body that he had made for his daughter, and she had died. We actually find out she was killed when one of his patients tried to raid him for, I think it was for drugs, and she got killed. So he gives Alita the body. He also gives Alita her name, because Alita was the name of her daughter. In the manga, Alita was the name of his dog. So I'm not sure if there's a statement there or not. I'd have to really do some examining on that. But just hold on to that and toss that thought around in your head. If you have any thoughts about that, let me know in the comments. So naturally, Ito is very protective of Alita. And this happens all throughout the movie. At least until this particular part of the conflict gets resolved. And I guess that's a good time to touch on something important. It is okay to have things that are problematic in your work as part of the plot, as part of dramatic tension. Folding Ideas did a series of videos about 50 Shades of Grey, where he looks at the books and he looks at the movies, comparing them, examining them, and so on. And one of the things he says early on about the books and about the movies and the way that Christian Grey acts towards Anna, it is okay if Christian Grey is a shit boyfriend. It is okay that Ito is an overprotective father figure. It needs to be utilized as dramatic tension, and it needs to be resolved. It needs to be part of the main character's motivations. A lot of times with this trope, all that happens is that it just reinforces daddy's overprotectiveness, which is one of the problems with how the trope is used. It is very rare that we actually see it used in order to build up and establish the independence of the female lead character. That doesn't happen here. So, Ito's very overprotective. He does not want Alita getting hurt. He does not want her getting involved in the stuff that he does, because we come to find out he is also a bounty hunter. He does not want her involved in any of that. Alita decides on her own she's going to get involved in all of this. One of the things that happens is that she comes to find out there is a crashed ship. She goes to it and she finds another bodysuit. And she realizes she is able to access it because the ship recognizes something about her. She has some flashbacks. I think at this point she has some flashbacks of little bits and pieces of memory. She knows that this suit is meant either for her or someone like her. And she takes it back to Ito and she says, I want this body. Ito recognizes immediately what it is for, and he tells her no. And he will not put her in this body. This is him and his overprotectiveness. Not just his overprotectiveness, but his desire to craft for Alita what her life is going to be like. Again, it is okay that he is this way, but it needs to be part of the dramatic tension. It needs to be part of the character's motivations, and it needs to have resolution. Usually, in movies like this, the resolution, again, reinforces daddy/father figure's overprotectiveness and or their desire to shape life for daughter. Alita decides she is going to pursue being a bounty hunter. She does so. She gets into a fight with the big guy whose name I cannot remember. It is an awesome fight. She's faced off against him before. He is OP now. And he wipes the floor with her. Alita almost dies. It follows the bar fight, and there's some really great things that I like. Early on in the movie, you get a setup. There is this little yappy dog that Alita rescues. In the bar scene, the little yappy dog is there, and he recognizes Alita. And there's also another bounty hunter who's there. Alita's trying to round up the bounty hunters because she wants their help, and nobody wants to help her. People are kind of mocking her, and the fight's getting ready to start. One of the bounty hunters that is there has dogs. Our bad guy, one of them kills the little yappy dog. One of the people that comes to help rescue Alita is the dog guy, because he sees how she treats the dog. It is an instant bonding moment between them. He knows this is somebody he can trust, and he ends up helping her later when it comes to the rescue. But Ito comes to the rescue. I think Hugo's there. They get Alita out. She is almost dead. Now, normally, this would be the moment when Daddy goes, this is why I have this rule, this world is too dangerous, blah, 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 blah. And daughter would go, yes, Daddy, I know, I'm sorry. And then maybe Daddy would go, tell you what, I'll let you do this part of bounty hunting with me that won't be so dangerous for you, and you can get a little bit of freedom that way. And daughter would go, yes, Daddy, thank you. That's not what happens here. What happens here is Ito gives her the body she asked him for in the first place. He doesn't repair her body. He doesn't try to make her a different one or put pieces together of other bodies to give her a functioning body. He puts her in the war suit that she wanted in the first place. And the whole thing that follows, and the scene that follows after, it is not at any point Ito telling Alita she should not have done what she did, or any of that. It is very clearly Ito understanding that he almost got her killed, because if she had had that body, that fight would have gone very, very differently. Ito almost got her killed because he had to be overprotective, and he had to decide for Alita what her fate was going to be, instead of letting her choose that path for herself and being a supportive father figure and helping her. Once he does that, once he is the supportive father figure, Alita's successful, because that is how life goes. When the people that we rely on to help us, to support us, to guide us, to teach us, when they actually do that in a way that lets us choose our path or supports us in the path we have chosen, things go well. But yeah, there's not any of the normal acknowledgement you would see with this trope. It is very much about, it very much frames a situation of, you look and go, dude, you almost got this person killed. You should have let her have the suit in the first place. And that is what happens. That is how this trope is resolved. And I was really impressed by that. I liked that. I thought it was really good. I thought it was good for the character. It was fitting to the characters. It took a dramatic tension, very common to see in these types of stories, that you almost can't help but have in them, and it frames all of it very differently. This is why I say, I think that everything from how it's set up to how it's resolved acknowledges that the daddy knows best trope is often very bad, that it has some deeply problematic nature to it, and I think that it acknowledges that and turns that around. So there you go. That was the thing that I wanted to talk about, because I thought it was really well done how the trope was used, how the trope was turned on its end And instead of having the yes, Addie, you're right, I'll follow these rules from now on, it's, I should not have done this, I almost got her killed, she would not be in this situation had I done the right thing. And yeah, no movie, no work is ever going to be ideologically pure. You are always going to have something of problematic from a society that has those problematic elements are going to be present in your work. If you are trying to make a movie that is a communist manifesto on communism, if you're making it in America, you're going to have something in it that is going to have capitalism bleed over into it in a way that you don't want it to. If nothing else, by the nature that you're making a movie and you've got to have employees and you've got to pay them and you have investors because you have to raise capital. Works are almost never going to be ideologically pure. Are there things in Alita Battle Angel that are problematic? Yes. There are a few things that we could pick out and go, this is a problem, and this is a problem, and this is a problem. You're going to have that. Are there mixed messages that happen? Probably. There are a few. But overall, I would say that as far as looking at this movie as a feminist and going, is this a feminist character? Is this a movie that has a strong feminist message in it? Yeah. As a feminist, I felt that this movie spoke to me. I felt that this movie, in the way it was adapted, respected me as a woman, respected the character as a woman, and understood some very fundamental things about feminism and utilized them. Whether or not feminism was the intent doesn't matter if the ideology of feminism has permeated in some way to the creators of the work. It's very obvious to me that even if there was not an intent of any feminist messaging, that important things like a woman's bodily autonomy, important things like, self-determination and freedom and things like that are important aspects of feminism, are still present in a positive way for this female lead character. And that's very important to me. So, yeah. I really loved this movie. Like, when it comes to adaptation of manga and anime, this is pretty much how you do it. It was great. And yeah, there was some messaging in that movie that I thought was really powerful and really good. And that was one of them. And I wanted to talk about that because I hadn't gotten to talk about it yet. So there you go. Again, I'm going to put a link into in the description to my blog post where I talk about this too, because I've probably missed some points. I do touch on some other things with the movie as well, because I do give a more in-depth review of the movie and what I thought about it. So please check it out. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. Share some comments on some of the things that I talk about. Any thoughts that you have. You know, what are your opinions of the trope? What are your thoughts about the naming and how that's adapted from the manga to the movie? Do you have thoughts about that? Do you see any kind of statement there? Or anything like that? Yeah. Hit me up on Twitter if you would like. And peace.